People, I love when that happens live on air. The only Danny boy I'm going to get is Dan Kitchener. How you doing?
Hi, I'm well, thank
How did
you.
that
How are
happen?
you?
See, it was meant to be. Can you sing any Irish tunes?
I can't, no.
Oh, seriously? You don't even know Danny Boy? Ah, you're going to have to learn
Uh,
that.
well, my singing voice is appalling, so I'm not even going to try, to be honest.
Seriously. So you're gifted in the artistic section, but not the vocal section.
Not at all. Yeah.
So listen, I was reading a little. I googled you a little bit, and I saw you started off in fine art.
Yes.
So how did you evolve to doing what you're doing now? Because was that a singular decision, or did you find one day, oh, there's a can, I'll see how this works?
No, it's kind of been almost like a sort of natural progression. I mean, art's something I've done for my whole life. So it's, ever since I was a little baby,
Yeah,
I could pick up a pen. I started drawing and painting. And then I kind of went through, sort of youth and my childhood and then education, sort of always sort of gravitating towards art.
yeah,
So it's just something that literally has been the biggest part of my life. And then spray paints and sort of street art murals have kind of just naturally come from that. It wasn't a conscious decision to kind of pick up a spray can. It's just kind of happened.
yeah. And did you ever get into trouble for it early on? Like, in the day, people, oh, that was what was your, oh, you don't do that, But now it's on
Not
trend,
so
isn't
much,
it?
no. No, I've always been a good boy, so I've always
You
behaved
can tell me
myself.
off air. I know you're.
Well, yeah. But obviously, when you kind of experiment with different sort of techniques and stuff, you can make a mess, and sometimes you might be scrawling on a wall or something that perhaps isn't the best place for your art. But
Yeah.
no, I've always kind of been a good boy, so let's just put it like that.
And when you were little, did you draw on your walls?
Do you know what I didn't? What
Did
I
you
did
not?
have, I had sketchbook upon sketchbook, so I actually had quite a good outlet, sort of creative outlet, just by having so many sketchbooks, which I used to literally just fill endlessly. I kind of still do. I mean, when I get time, I do. But when I was younger, yeah, I just used to sit in the corner and just like sketch page after page of kind of usually monsters and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and do you ever go back and say, "Oh, I'd love to revisit that and do some of those again," or do you just move on when you do something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, do you know what? It's almost like a visual diary. So a lot of the sketchbooks, my kind of earlier sketchbooks when I was really young, I don't still have, but a lot of the, perhaps maybe from sort of early 20s, mid 20s, I've still kept
yeah,
all those sketchbooks. I've got hundreds and hundreds of them. So I do dip into them sometimes just to kind of see where my head was and,
yeah.
what ideas I was having then. And I do sort of sometimes pick an idea that I had and never sort of resolved and then kind of develop it. But yeah, I mean, I have so many ideas that it feels like I don't need to do that, but I do sometimes do it, yeah.
Yeah, and you've travelled a bit, haven't you, as well? I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely very strong Japanese imprint on some of the
Yes.
work that you've done, and I honestly, I'm like you. I love that culture. I love
Yes, me
the
too.
angles and the depth, and there's an elegance, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. There's kind of, it feels like a very elegant, designed kind of feel to everything. Just the architecture, the kind of neon, the whole culture has this sort of beautiful, delicate kind of design to it. It's hard to kind of put into words, but
Yeah,
I guess that's why I kind of paint it,
yeah.
because it just kind of resonates with me, that kind of beauty. Even just in a normal street, there's something, quite amazing about it,
And
especially Tokyo.
do you do something with the colours themselves? Because there seems to be this tinge of fluorescence or something to them that's just beautiful, and they do
Um,
stand out.
yeah, I guess it's like, I think it's just the way you look at stuff. It's kind
Yeah,
of, I've almost maybe, been looking at this kind of cityscape for so long that I naturally kind of pull the colour out from a scene. So even if the scene perhaps might look a little bit drab or dreary, for example in London, then
yeah.
I can almost see areas to pull the colour from. So I'm not consciously sort of exaggerating it. It's just, I think, the way I see it,
Yeah,
if
you
that
did.
makes
You
sense.
did a On Insta there, I saw a recent post there, guys. If you want to go and check this out, it's DANK, Dan Kitchener. And the picture you posted up was predominantly black and white, but you have two little specks of colour that just lifts the whole thing. And that was 2009.
Oh.
Do you know the picture I'm talking about? It's a
I
landscape.
do, yeah. That's I quite, from quite a few years back. I think it was 2009.
Yeah.
And I was painting these, grey scale kind of railway sort of cityscapes, quite sort of dark and kind of maybe a bit ominous, I guess. And then, just highlighting little bits of colour just to kind of almost sort of breathe life into it. I mean, that's the scenery that I used to see when I used to sort of travel into London, commute into London all the time. So it was kind of trying to sort of cheer those scenes up a bit, maybe. I mean, not so they're kind of like rainbow colours, but just kind of injecting a little bit of life into it, perhaps.
Yeah, and you're constantly being more diverse as well. You seem to freshen up every so often. your visions of life change constantly, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, for me, that's kind of, I mean, I've always been like that, and it's kind of, diversity has kind of been something that's been really important. It's not stagnating and doing the same thing over and over and over, so it becomes repetitive and almost kind of robotic-like. I do like to experiment with a lot of different, ideas.
Yeah, and do you ever find that you have a set routine, ever?
What's that, sorry?
Do you ever have a set routine, or is your life just randomly flowing?
Oh, yeah, no, it's chaos.
Is it? Well, that was a nice way of putting it, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, unfortunately not, because if it's very difficult for me.
Have we lost you? Come back again. Say that again, sorry. I lost you for a second.
It's like offers of suddenly, come here to paint a mural or do this or that. So it's really difficult for me to kind of have any structure. But it kind of works because it keeps me energized, I guess. And kind of keeps my ideas fresh, and it's exciting. I mean, I can't complain. It's exciting. It is quite tiring, I have to say.
Tell me about your ventures over to Ireland. How did that go for you?
So I've just been in Waterford, so in Southern Ireland, obviously, which is so I haven't been there before, so that was really fantastic to be invited to come and paint there. Previously, I've been to Belfast a couple of times and painted 2 large murals there. So for me, it was absolutely amazing to come to Waterford. It did rain a lot, which was good.
You're welcome. Yeah, surprise.
Rain. Wherever I go, it always rains. So I think everyone can blame me for that.
So tell me, how do you manage that? Like, if you're using so many mediums on the wall, and how do you protect? Do you work when it stops raining, or do you work through the rain?
Unfortunately, because usually the sort of timescales that I paint in are quite short, so I may be only there for 3, 4, 5 days. Then I have to paint no matter what.
Okay.
Because there isn't the time. So if it does rain, then I have to still carry on. Yeah. And it does work, unless obviously it's like a sort of torrential hurricane and the water's pouring down the wall. Then I couldn't. But I think 99% of the time when it's been raining, it's still manageable. It's not pleasant, but it's still manageable to do. So yeah, just have to get on with it, really.
Yeah. And listen, talk to me about the mural you did on the top of the stairs in someone's house. What was that like for you? Because it's a landscape. It looks like New York or something, is it?
It's Tokyo, actually.
Oh, is it Tokyo?
It does look like New York, actually.
Yeah, it had that vibe.
Tokyo, not surprising.
And was that easy? Or like, obviously, it's obviously, you were saying that people walk in the stairs and that's the first thing they see and they're like, wow.
Yeah. It was. I mean, that was quite a last minute kind of commission. So that was quite an interesting project. I mean, the house itself was this Victorian manor house, very kind of beautiful, kind of regal architecture. With huge kind of grounds and everything. I mean, just amazing place. And then obviously you walk in to the main kind of area, main hall, and then you look up the stairs and there's this kind of great big neon piece of street art at the end of the corridor. So it's just amazing. I mean, I love the fact that people kind of have that vision to mix that old kind of architecture with very new kind of modern kind of art. I think and it really works. I mean, it doesn't look out of place. It actually does sit within that kind of building really well.
Yeah, but you know what? Your name has escalated around the scene as well, because I just saw there that you've done some high-profile places as well for clients as well, like Paul McCarthy and Kylie and Calvin Harris, and you know, did they ask for anything unusual, or was it exactly what your standard stuff is, or was there any special requests from them?
No, so the work I did with Paul McCartney and Kylie and some of the other kind of musicians and bands, that was actually not in terms of street art. That was actually my kind of creative post-production career, because I actually worked in animation and post-production, so I did a lot of TV work and music videos and that kind of thing. And that was some years back.
Yeah.
And then I migrated. I mean, I always did the sort of street art and the sort of art and painting side to my life after work, so to speak. So it was always something that's kind of been with me. But yeah, that was when I was kind of working in a different kind of environment.
Yeah.
So it wasn't street art as such. I mean, I was still able to inject my own kind of creativity and my ideas into those things, but it was a very different medium. Again, that's the whole kind of diversity thing. It's being able to do a variety of kind of creative, sort of processes, which kind of all filter into what I do now. I mean, a lot of it is to do with lighting and sort of drama, I guess. So it's kind of trying to, I think that sort of filters into what I do now.
Brilliant. So where do you think you're going to be in 5 years art-wise? Do you think it's going to shift again into something else more diverse?
Oh, I'd like to...
You can guess. Pretend you actually know. You could say on the Caribbean or something, doing murals on the side of a ship or something. Who knows?
I think probably just continuing what I'm doing. I kind of don't...
Are you happy at this point?
Plan that far ahead.
Yeah.
I think it's quite nice to let things kind of present themselves and kind of just let things naturally kind of work out.
Brilliant. And if people want to actually get your work, I know that you do prints, don't you, of the originals?
Yeah, I do.
So tell us a bit about that.
Prints, which are obviously more affordable, I guess, than the sort of original canvases, but I can't, again, try to be diverse, so I try to do everything.
I might get one.
So murals, canvases, prints, everything. Kind of, it's good to be busy.
Yeah, but you know what I liked about what you do with the prints is that you actually do your little touches, so everyone is unique anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's good. It's good to have that. It's good to kind of not be removed from that kind of process and put something that's actually unique and individual to print. So and I think people seem to really like that.
Brilliant. I was just looking at do you consider Instagram another medium for expression as well?
Yeah, I think so. They're like they're good tools to kind of showcase what you do. It's quite easy to get caught up in it though, and almost feel like you have to kind of post things all the time.
Yeah.
I try to kind of manage that and try to sort of understand that it is just a tool, but they are really important, and they do obviously help you reach a wider audience, which is fantastic. And it's great to see what people think about your work, and they leave comments. So to get feedback from people is fantastic.
Yeah, well, considering you work a lot of time on your own, I think it's probably a fantastic way to connect, and that's one thing about social media.
Quite a solitary life, I guess. I mean, when I'm in my studio, I'm by myself, and when I'm kind of 30 feet up on a scissor lift painting a mural, I'm in my own little world. So, yeah, it is really good to be able to engage with people and actually have conversations and get criticism, constructive criticism. And, it's just really good to actually have a dialogue with people, because people do often see my work in a different way to perhaps how I'm seeing it. And it's really interesting to see how people, respond to that.
And would you be up for travelling around the world and doing more outside of England and taking a new journey with